Hello everyone, Simon Jacobson here. I hope you're well. Another episode of Meaningful Live. We're here every Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, New York time. And it's a great... We'll be speaking about this, what nobody ever told you about Passover. Yeah. Some secrets from behind the curtain. This program is dedicated by Benny Rubenstein on his 50th birthday in honor of his dear parents, Sonia and Miguel, and for the refuah shlema, complete healing of his father, Michael Ben Golda. May he be well. May we all be well. Let me be perfectly blunt and candid with you. I grew up in a traditional Jewish home. Very observant, very intense, especially Passover. I remember my mother, my grandmother cleaning, looking for every last crumb. And of course, it came with a lot of beauty and warmth. Good memories sitting with my grandparents, my parents, my siblings, my uncles, my aunts. It was beautiful. Full disclosure, I wasn't abused in the name of religion. I wasn't molested. I wasn't hurt. However, as beautiful as it was, something seemed always lacking in my heart. I didn't see the relevance. I saw the tradition, the rituals. I even saw some of the beautiful messages growing up with it. But that deep, what shall we call, resonating, and deeply relevant, indispensable tool in life, that's not something I recognized as a child. A lot of it was mechanical and robotic. Again, very nice and beautiful, like many rituals. And I don't say to offend anyone, I'm just being very perfectly honest. So when I say I'll share that which was not told to us about Passover, that which was not told to you about Passover, something I myself had to discover. You know, an event that happened 3,335 years ago now. Yes, maybe one of the most famous events in history, the Exodus from Egypt. Films have been made about it. Of course, the Ten Commandments, Charlton Heston. We have the Prince of Egypt. It's one of the most famous stories. For many, it represented even the birth of the United States. Some of the founding fathers saw it as their exodus and their coming to their promised land. Many of those emancipated slaves, whether it was slavery in the United States or in other places, also always identified with Exodus, which was the first institutionalized bondage and then freedom. The film called Exodus. And on and on. It's part of our culture. I remember guests who didn't know what it was. You know, the funny rituals. Here you dip the bitter herbs, and here you're eating some whether it's potato or onion, the cups of wine, the matzah. I mean, I can go on, regale you with all the, let me say, Woody Allen style or Jackie Mason style humor at the expense of story of leaving Egypt, recreating those events. But it was when I discovered in my teenage years one key word, transcendence. And I realized what kind of power this holiday has. And not just for Jews, for all people. Transcendence. What does Passover mean? In Hebrew, Pesach. It means to transcend, to pass over. And it's not a technical word, it's a spiritual word. What it's reflecting is the concept, the big question that we all ask. How high can we reach in life? We're mere mortals. So much of our life is temporary, impermanent. Can we kiss the sky? Can we marry heaven and earth? Yes, I'm borrowing a line from Jimi Hendrix. Excuse me while I kiss the sky. human beings have a natural gravitation, no pun intended, that it doesn't draw us down, but draws us up, like a flickering flame. That's what a soul is about, a form of transcendence. And we continuously seek, even on a very basic level. Look how much billions or trillions of dollars have been spent simply to satisfy one thing, our curiosity. What's out there? The stars, the planets. Is there life out there? And that reflects a more deeper transcendent element, that we're not satisfied with animal bliss. We're not satisfied with the status quo. We're always looking and seeking and searching and yearning. And sometimes that yearning can get us into trouble. Talk about Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin. Talk about some of the contemporaries, all same age, young 20s, OD'd. Great souls, but they couldn't ground it. They were able to go up, but they couldn't come back down. And so many others, whether it's Rothko, great artist, that have experienced deep spiritual ecstasy, but could not find ways to contain it, grounded on earth. Can you touch the sky and also come back to tell about it? And you have stories. You have stories in the Bible, you have stories in the Talmud, and throughout history of people who reached those great heights, but couldn't integrate it. So as I began to understand that very human nature within us, the nature to touch that which is beyond. Everyone knows Michelangelo's powerful way, Adam and God, the fingers about to touch each other, but only about to touch each other, that there's something that remains, a mystique, something elusive, which is very much part of the beauty of it, because it's something you can't own, you can't control. It's what makes it so refreshing. We, in our tendency to want to own and control everything and acquire things, acquisitions, we want to acquire that transcendent. But transcendent by definition means it absorbs you, you don't absorb it. Spread our wings and reach the skies and beyond is the representation of this holiday. And the exodus from these limits and constraints is the experience of transcendence, something we all look for. And over time, it made me realize how words and rituals and traditions can actually work against us. Yes, on one hand, they allow us to communicate with each other, but they also turn into stereotypes and prejudices and preconceived notions, and they trap us. The very word God, 3-letter word. We can't even agree on, forget about agreeing whether one believes in God or not. What does it even mean? I love that story when Lev Yitzchok Barditchev, the great Hasidic, 18th century Hasidic master, told a self-proclaimed atheist, he said, the God you don't believe in, I also don't believe in. We have to first define the terms. When you think in the terms of context of transcendence, we all can relate to transcendence. If you think in terms of God as this white guy sitting on the throne in heaven with a long white beard ready to strike us with lightning, I would say so it all comes down to definitions or misdefinitions and myths and stereotypes about these very concepts. Statistics show that associated with these words, ritual, tradition, family, holidays, prayer, house of worship, synagogue, church, mosque, clergy. Those are all the nice words. Community. If you go into the more negative words, you'll get into words like dogma, judgmentalism, condescension, anger, punitiveness, guilt, neurosis, and so on. Spirituality, what do you associate with? Spirituality, what do you associate with? Free-spiritedness, soul, music. Soul. Transcendence. So you can imagine why people look at religion as dogma, as ritual. Spiritual, SPI, is not in the ritual. And some will even point out, the more religious some people are, the less spiritual. The more spiritual, the less religious. Being someone that grew up in the religious so-called world, I came to discover that really it's two halves of one whole. It's a body and a soul. The rituals on their own are just mechanical. It's like banging on a piano and no music comes out. When you hear the music, then you realize, of course, those musical notes, they're not just gibberish on a page, not just meaningless prayers. They have magic. They produce magic, transcendence. Transcendence we associate with, I said, song, music, soul. We associate it with love, with intimacy, with sexuality, with art, with travel, with all the things that cause our spirits to be lifted up, to fly. For some, that became the refuge, that became the place to go, and they could not identify with the ritualistic part. And I fully understand it. Makes total sense why, especially in the 60s, but this is happening all the time, that religion was replaced by the journey to the East, whether to Buddhism, to the mountains, to music, to sex, drugs and rock and roll, to psychedelics, because that satisfied the spirit's yearnings. I, and perhaps this was my blessing, discovered that you can join the two. And everything needs mechanics. Everything has structure in order to help us transcend structure. And that the entire Seder actually was a method, was exactly that, like musical notes. These are the 15 steps of how you experience transcendence. Imagine that revolution. And I looked at some of my relatives. They didn't necessarily identify with the word transcendence. Maybe they experienced it in a certain way, which I'm sure anyone that does certain common things with community and there's warmth and love will experience it in a certain way. But not everybody necessarily has that spiritual aspiration directly defined in that particular fashion. Everyone has their own way of experiencing it. But for those of us that do have it, those of us that are more creative perhaps, the dream, are more idealistic, that's what Passover, the essence of it is. That's the secret we were not told. And that's sad. It's one thing you reject something because you looked into it, you understood it. Okay, not for me, not relevant to me, or even worse, destructive. As some of our world-famous radical atheists look at religion. Christopher Hitchens was one, as religion as destructive. Olav HaShalom. He's passed on. I heard that his mother is Jewish. Sam Harris, another Jew. Richard Dawkins is not Jewish, or maybe they'll discover he's Jewish, because there's no atheists as good as Jews, to be very honest. But the point being is, they are emphasizing something like I said with the God you don't believe in, I also don't believe in. It's true. Religion, divorced of soul, divorced of transcendence, can be very destructive. Even if it's not destructive, it can be meaningless. It becomes mechanical, robotic, by rote, dogmatic. And then it could lead to the judgmentalism and the divisiveness and so on. But the truth is that I would call it true religion. I don't even like the word religion, to be honest. But the true ritual is only one with a soul, only one that is infused and saturated with profound love. And that's why Hillel told the individual, asked, teach me the entire Torah, standing on one foot, and he said, love. Don't do unto others that which you don't want done to you. Everything. All the rituals, the prayers, everything. Even the things we do between us and God is also about love between each other. Because if you love God, you love what God loves, which is his own children, God's own creations. And that's the fundamental lesson. Because transcendence equals love. Very powerful statement in a book called the Tanya by Rab Shneur Zalman, a contemporary of Rab Levi Yitzchak of Liadi, and he writes, chapter love of all chapters. In Hebrew, love, lev, heart, is chapter 32. He writes that true love is only possible when you see the material secondary to the spiritual. Because as long as you think you're a material human being, materialism, matter, by definition, occupies time and space, and my time and space is not yours. If I'm to give up part of my space or my time, I get diminished. So then love is conditional, I'll give it as long as I get something in return. And it's worth it for me. True love is transcending yourself. It's not how much you get. It's not about your needs. It's about getting beyond yourself. Transcending yourself, your ego, your self-interest, and all of that. Getting outside of your orbit. That's the whole point, to get beyond yourself. And that's only when spirit is more powerful than matter. When your soul is dominant and your body is just a vehicle. That's the essential message, my friends, of Passover. Transcendence, the experience of transcendence. No wonder that it's with us for thousands of years. Something doesn't stay just because a few people are doing it, because it does have that profound meaning. I feel blessed that I discovered it, and I feel blessed to share it. Now, if you're familiar with this already, great. But as we all know, transcendence keeps on going, no matter how many times you're reminded of it. It doesn't hurt to hear about it again. And if this is the first time you're hearing it, even better. But it is an opportunity for all of us. And indeed, I have personally created different tools and methods that you can find easily online. Go to meaningfullife.com, the 15 steps of the Seder. I did a musical version of it. Basically, steps that help us transcend, that help us get beyond not just our demons, not just those dark forces and shadows that limit us, but in general, all our limitations, all our fears, that help us really spread our wings and soar. So check it out. We have an entire Passover section. Go to meaningfullife.com/Passover. And please take advantage of it all. So, my friends, I leave you with this thought. You have so much more potential than you can ever imagine. But it lies trapped. It lies embedded within our spirits, within our inner psyches. And sometimes we don't even know it exists. And it's our life patterns and habits and environment that often blocks us from accessing the best of ourselves. Here we have a time. Time is energy. A time of the year where we get an additional surge, an additional power to open up channels, new channels that allow us to release those deeper, heavenly, divine forces within. Yes, William Blake said that to hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour, beautiful, but how? How do you find the infinity in the palm of your hand? And how do you find eternity in an hour? You need to dig into the subatomic and beneath the subatomic and the spiritual forces that lie concealed and sometimes locked and trapped within our very selves, within the palm of our hand, within our hour. And when you do so, it releases such enormous force in a beautiful way. So much kindness, so much love, so much generosity. And in a way we could absolutely fuse those two forces, the body and soul, of our life experiences. I often think that in our day and age, religion was replaced by music. Music is like a prayer. A rock concert is like a prayer service. And perhaps a Grateful Dead concert was like a pilgrimage with offerings and incense and all the works. But that's what people are seeking. We're seeking transcendence. And here we have over 3 millennia time-tested formula to experience true transcendence. May you be blessed to be able to find the strength that is more powerful than all the darkness and all the limitations and all the constraints and all the fears and all the insecurities and inhibitions, and spread your wings, fly, soar, and share it with others. Thank you so much. This has been Simon Jacobson, Meaningful Life Center, meaningfullife.com. Check us out at that website, and especially subscribe here to our YouTube channel. And please share it with others. I'd love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your comments. Extremely valuable, because at the end of the day, we need each other. You ever see how the geese fly? They ride on each other's aerodynamics. We support each other in often the challenges. And through the challenges, we become greater and more powerful people. Thank you again, and a happy Passover, a happy transcendence, and meaningful to all of you, to each one of you, wherever you may be. Be well and be blessed.